bong.
Hello.
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 How y'all doing? How y'all doing? How y'all doing?
Be careful of the opening doors. Bing bong.
am doing. But
doing?
doing what are
Alive
you?
and kicking.
Yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm doing great. I just came from the Nutcracker at the Kennedy Center to the Philadelphia Ballet came to town. It was really fucking cool, dude.
Oh, I bet.
I tell
So
you.
that's
awesome.
a start. Yeah. Pretty
Yeah.
good.
What
night
what
for you,
y'all
Rocco.
do lately? You go anywhere, Mason? You do something cool?
Yeah.
Is this a
Well,
podcast or something? Hello. This
I think
always
it
strikes
is.
late.
what
It-
up?
What are we
is.
doing here? Do they know what this is? What room this is? The
This is the
ASL room.
This
I
is
need
the
an
late
adult.
room. Hi y'all. This is Matt, and joined by all my lovely co-hosts. I'm gonna
Hello.
go in order just because I'm looking at a screen with a bunch of
Ooh.
lovely faces.
Oh, thank you, bud.
Jack.
You looking pretty cute too.
We got Jack, we got Mason, we got Rocco, yeah
Hey.
boy, on tonight, and
Yeah.
we have an esteemed member of society in this
We
group.
do.
Well, actually, all of us are
Rocco's
esteemed
here.
members.
I'll
Right.
stop it, Mason.
I'm an esteemed member of
Love you,
my
buddy.
couch.
Ooh.
But
True.
Mason,
Yeah.
on the other hand, just got back from the most confusing title for a tournament. It's called the
Come on.
WCW, and
Yep.
every time somebody was talking about that, I was like, "You guys are all going to a wrestling championship? What is going
are.
on?"
Yep.
Mhm. World Championship Wrestling, dude.
Turns
Come
out
on.
that like all the best players in the world Willy Wonka'd themselves into fighting each other in freaking Georgia of all places, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Right.
at least it wasn't in summer. That's all I have to say, coming
Yes.
from Maryland.
Interesting.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true.
That humidity really gets you down there.
I had never been to Atlanta before.
Okay.
I don't think that I saw enough that I'm going back. But
I mean,
So
Great
you weren't
music
bitten by
city.
that southern peach bug.
it wasn't the best place I've ever been. Probably
I-
wasn't the worst though. So
mhm.
No,
As
you
a
gotta
New
go a
York
little-
Met fan, I like that description.
yeah. Yeah.
You would describe it as a place.
Yeah,
Yes,
it was
it is a
somewhere you
place.
could be. Yeah, it was interesting because it felt like very much like a downtown area. And to be fair, I don't
Yeah.
know if I was. I mean, it was a downtown area ish, but I don't know if it was like the downtown Atlanta.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
it was
It's really
wild. Like every,
suburban. It's
it was-
more like sprawled out instead of like built up high like New York is.
yeah. But
Yeah, it's
nevertheless,
very
like
Portlandish.
everything was closed by like 5 p.m. at all times.
Oh.
Other than like that main road that the hotel was on, it kind of
Mhm.
felt like a ghost town. It was interesting.
Oh.
Like I walked
Strange.
probably, like not quite a mile to our condo from the venue. We did that quite a few times and it was like barren. I mean, like a lot of homeless, but
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, interesting. There was like a food court mall kind of thing attached to the hotel, like through a little gateway portal thing. It was hilarious because
Mhm.
you just walk in and there's like 50 restaurants, but
Oh.
closed by 5 p.m. And like Saturday and Sunday, even the coffee place in that wasn't open. So like a really
Shut
weird.
See, this is what's
Uh,
getting me about this, Mason. So by 5 p.m., like,
Yeah.
what happens at 5 p.m.? Is this like a vampire setting? People gotta go home.
I don't know. I didn't turn into one,
I
thankfully,
think
and I was
there is
out.
an actual play though for Vampire the Masquerade in Atlanta. Now you mention it, but
Yeah.
Atlanta has a nightlife. I know it does
Is
somewhere.
it downtown Atlanta? Where was this held? Of course, World Championships of
felt-
Warhammer, not
It
wrestling.
felt like it
Sorry,
was in
fans.
downtown Atlanta. That's what
Uh-huh.
but honestly, I don't know. It was at the Hyatt Regency
Okay.
in Atlanta.
Okay.
It was a very much a downtown area. There was like a Hard
Sure.
Rock cafe and a few other kind of things nearby. And that one was open later. But I mean,
Okay.
it's very chainy.
Yeah.
Yep. As
Thank God,
downtowns
though.
tend to be on the East Coast, I would say, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
But over
That's
by
true.
my condo, there was this like 24/7 Cajun pasta place that was called Hungry AF. And
yeah.
it was
Okay.
hilarious. I mean, the food was okay. We ate there once, obviously, to try it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a man, interesting area for sure. Interesting place to have that.
Huh.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it was also insane because it was 130 people that had one GTs or like one major
Mm-hmm.
event to co-qualify to this event that we
Mm-hmm.
were all doing, and then it was 8 rounds, which is a little
Mm.
unheard of. We did 8 rounds at the Tacoma Open, of course.
Yeah.
So it's a GW thing. They're really pushing that envelope on how many games we can play.
But they
But it
went
was over 4 days.
4 hours.
Yeah. Games
Four
could go 4 hours.
So eight
hours.
Ooh.
games, four
Yeah.
hours, 4 days. Really not, I guess, timing kind. The weekend warriors out there, huh? That's a
No.
commitment.
Yeah, that's
For sure.
like
And
you
they
get a
wanted us to
gold
fly in
star
on
just for
Wednesday and
that.
fly out Monday. They were pretty specific on what they would like us to do.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
they're probably afraid of weather and delays, kind of messing up the brackets and all that. What are you thinking, or did
Wow.
they give any direction on it?
Maybe so. I mean, arriving early
Okay.
for sure, just to account for that and to like, get acclimated a little bit, perhaps also, and then afterwards, because they really want everyone to like stay, finish all their games. They had like big, who knows if they were real or not, but they had some penalties they were going to apply if people were dropping from the event because we were like highly
Oh.
encouraged to
Oh.
play all of our games no matter what. They all mattered because we were
Hmm.
competing for team points, and so every win mattered for your score and certain prizes and all of these different, like they had just like pages of things that were being looked for or
Okay.
calculated or whatever. And
That's
so
crazy.
there were like, yeah. So all
Huh.
of that, it is cool, and there was a lot of like team camaraderie and stuff evident, you could see that. But
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, I think that it was just, different ways to encourage people to play all 8 games and not get discouraged, not like drop after 2 losses because you can't make it to be world champion anymore, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I hope they
So
had like ibuprofen on hand, like at the
yeah.
side for the
Mhm.
people and
They had like $4 sodas at a little cart outside the.
Ooh.
Is that what you
oh,
meant?
even better. Crush
Yeah.
your
Yeah, we got
soul
to
That
and
tell
was
your
them,
hard.
wallet.
Crushed
man.
it this
Yeah,
weekend, I'm
exactly.
sure.
The
I
home of
heard though.
Coca-Cola, four
I heard
dollars a
that.
can. Ooh.
Right. I heard that you could have bought a beer for like $10 or $12, but that a bucket of beer of 5 was 20. So everyone was just buying the buckets because.
That's
That
how you
that
do it.
seems like the move,
Yeah.
given that I
Right.
Mm-hmm.
could see
Mm-hmm.
that.
Right. But
There's a hot take real quick on that though. I think that's great, kind of, that they were really pushing the finish your games. This kind of sucks when you're in an event and people are dropping out and like you see like that trail of two, then nothing, or three, then nothing
Mm-hmm.
game plays at the bottom because someone is fighting to have a full experience and I can mess with that.
for sure.
Yeah.
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 It's always a bummer for the buy too, if that
Yeah,
ends
I
up
do think that they
Absolutely.
had a ringer there. If I
Okay.
recall correctly, they had asked someone to like come and be a part of the event staff, but play
Mhm.
ringer if necessary. Somebody who was kind of like a local talented player, so it would have
Nice.
been a,
Okay.
moderately caliber game.
Sure.
That was word on the street, so I don't know anything about that. But
Gotcha.
um but yeah, it was a wild event. I mean, it was really cool. It was
Mm-hmm.
very humbling in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And like, man, just a lot of tight games, really strong opponents. I had to play Beasley, which kind of sucked because I have to
Yeah,
play
I
him.
saw that.
It was
So
your
yeah,
first game, right?
second game. Yeah.
Jeez,
Second
you
game?
travel.
Coming hard out of the gates with a local friend.
Yeah, exactly. But it's fine. Everything's fine.
I was
Uh,
saying your group 5 was gonna be Murder's Row because it was you, Beasley, and it was
it
wasn't
was
Caleb
tough, man.
Walters in that too?
Yep.
Yeah.
So maybe we should take a step back. Group five, Group Alpha. How are they doing this thing? No one knows.
Yeah, so they had all these people, like 130 of us or something like that, and they broke
Mhm.
us up into 8 pods of
Okay.
of 8 groups of players,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
we were going to play our first 4 games within those pods. So they told us like a week in advance. They said, "Here's the list. Here's your pods. Here's your group.
Mhm.
You're going to be not paired against your home country in round 1, but then like normal BCP team pairing kind of. But after
Mhm.
that, free reign, right? Everything
Sure.
goes." So
Wow, it's wild,
yeah,
actually.
Yeah. And also like if you win one, you're gonna play somebody who's won, and if you've won two, you're gonna play somebody who's won two. So like normal
Mm,
pairing,
Mhm.
okay.
but within your own little pods. So
Hmm.
we got to look at all of that. Also, the top two of each of those pods were gonna make it out into a championship bracket, and they'd play the
Sure.
next four games, getting to a natural winner. And then the other 14 or so players from every pod would go into the world's bracket and they would continue to play over four games. Like I said earlier, all of these points, all these awards, all of these nation inclusion, play
Hmm.
all your games. Okay. So,
Yeah.
um, interesting. So yeah, I was in group five. Matt Beasley, a local, also in group five. Carson, who's pretty much considered a local, right? He's PNW, also in group
Yep.
five.
Yep.
Oh
Funny
wow.
story. Also, the world champion who won the whole event was in group five with us. So
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
Okay,
neat,
my
you
prediction
know?
came true.
Murderer's
Yeah,
row indeed, Rocco. You were onto it,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
It
Also,
wasn't.
there was this 16-year-old kid named Ollie from Canada
Yeah, no,
that
I know about
started
him. Yeah.
2-0 in group
Yeah.
five and played Casper in round three. And Casper said it was one of his toughest matchups
He's really
against this kid.
scary, dude.
Yeah,
He's on his
That's
shit.
awesome.
Team Canada talks
yeah.
about him.
Hmm.
Oh, that was, and again, Caleb Walters being the boogeyman, him and his brother Scooter, the boogeyman of my neck of the woods here.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
From, from here
And
to
so
Boston to Chicago, they roam.
yeah, so they were going to take the top two from every one of those brackets. If there was a dispute over who that second person would be, they had a
Hmm.
shadow round that happened after day two. So
Okay,
day
I
two
heard.
started, and
Uh,
uh, I think there was only a need for like two or three shadow round games, if I
yeah,
remember
But
correctly.
I
that's
heard
pretty
Tom Guan
interesting.
got shadowed.
He shadowed as well. So, like, but what determines a shadow, guys? Like, what was it being too close
So
to call?
Or
there's
to
like
fight
a
for
hit.
Ugu.
There's like a hidden score kind of thing that they were
Hmm.
using. It's kind of like a 4-3-2-1-0 score, if you could think about the game. Four for a major win, three for a minor win, two
Sure.
for a draw, one for a
Hmm.
minor loss, zero for a major loss. So as you were competing in those first games, stuff was happening. You were inputting scores, but it was really looking for those 4-3-2s. Okay. So
Mm.
when it came to the end, you would probably have one undefeated in your pod and then multiple three
Yep.
and ones. They would look to that score. So if your first place undefeated had 16, let's just say four majors, and then your second place was tied at like 13 points, then those two would shadow round to advance out. But if there were two, three, and ones that had, I don't know exactly how the math would work out, but let's just say
Hmm.
one had 14 points and then all of the others had 13 or less, but they were
Yeah.
also three and one, there would not be a shadow round. And that person that had the three major wins and the minor loss would go through over
Okay.
anyone that had three wins major and one loss major. So a
That
little bit
that
of a
makes sense.
complex system, but also very simple. And I don't know why they don't just like make that a bit more public and just kind of explain it
Yeah.
and not hide it under a bunch of other stuff in BCP. Um, but it's fine. But that was really what was going on. Um,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
and so there were a few
Mhm.
shadow rounds. I don't recall everyone that had to do one. I know that future upcoming guest, spoiler alert, Alex Gonzalez had to play a shadow round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I
That's
heard that
right.
Also,
predict
do you
true.
guys want to hear a fun story?
Yes,
Of
Please.
always,
course.
always
That's
Okay,
why
strikes
we're
late.
so
here.
after day two, I was
Hmm.
feeling pretty good. We still had two more days. We're like, man, that's a lot more Warhammer to play.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I am doing this online tournament called Release the Beast, and it's an
Yeah.
online international teams tournament that a group of people organize. It's got
It's
like
a lot of
80,
fun. It's
or
a
sorry,
lot of fun.
yeah, it's got like 30, rather, not 80, 38 person teams, right? So like
Yes.
240
Oh,
people from all
Yeah.
over the world and some of the best players, like,
Hmm.
more than a dozen at least that were in that room.
A lot of the
If,
world's players are in there.
yeah, yeah, it's a
Just
really cool
regularly.
thing.
It's where they go to just get reps, to just go and see what the world metas are. They'll go and have different teams. You can have people from Australia. You can have people from Austria. You have the Russians have a big presence in there. The
Yeah,
Italian.
fun.
and I got asked to participate by Jared Brown, who's a local ish guy over in Idaho, and he asked me to join this group. And it's got people from all over, like you said, it's like a melting pot. We've got people
Yep.
from Australia, got a guy from like Tokyo.
In that
Maybe I'm
Discord, they're good people.
yeah, tons of fun. Anyways, I got paired into a gentleman by the name of Boggy, who is a Serbian. He plays on Team
Oh, shut
Serbia,
up.
Boggy
and
B?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he
Okay.
plays on Team Serbia by way of Thailand. He lives, I think, in Thailand. Um, and I got paired into him, and he was going to be at the World Championships. And so we had a Release the Beast match to do, but we decided
Love
we were
that.
going to fuck it, we're doing it live, right? And so
Yeah.
we set up to do an extra game at the World Championships, him and I, for our Release the Beast. And we ended up like taking a picture together with the scoreboard. I had written the scoreboard down, and so we took a picture where you could clearly see it and uploaded it as our results. So it was a ton of fun. So after day two,
Nice.
there's 3 or 4 people playing a shadow round. There's like judges are watching and bystanders are watching as these guys play these tense games to like go through, right? And it's such a weird feeling because it's a game that like everything is on the line, but it
Yeah.
also doesn't matter at all because
Uh-huh.
the shadow round means nothing. It's just whether or not you advance. And
Yeah.
then you just had to play another game that nobody else did. So
Yeah.
really
9,
an
not 8.
intense
Fun.
feeling for those
Extra
guys, right?
time. Yeah.
Me and Boggy decide we're gonna do our game then. So we're like in the same row with everyone, but like a table and a half down. Okay. There's like it's a
Yeah.
huge hallway of people. So all night, like so we're playing for like 3.5 hours. We're taking our time, we're playing it, we're playing our game to conclusion, like we're doing it. All
Yeah.
this whole time, people are coming to ask us. We're having to repeat all the time. Oh, we're doing this online tournament. We're doing the Release the Beast. Some people knew and were coming over and talking about it, but so many people kept coming up and asking us if we were doing a shadow round. And so I just started telling people, like, yeah, more like a Yugi sense, like a shadow realm.
We're doing a Shadow Realm over here.
Yeah,
Shout out to
exactly.
Stuart, the Iron Gutsman, for putting all those on.
Yeah,
man.
really cool.
That's awesome.
And I don't know if it's the first time or not, but it's got to be one of few where 2 completely international players did their Release the Beast match live in person.
That's
I even brought
great.
extra models because it was slightly different from my worlds list, just so that I could do it.
You're
love
ready
it,
for
dude.
this, Mason. That is
Yeah.
actually really, really cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
This is like
so
normally a TTS thing, right? Normally it's
Yeah.
a
yeah,
TTS
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
All right.
Yeah. So that was really fun. So I got to play a
Nice.
9th bonus game. I got to do my own shadow round of sorts. So I'm gonna let the record books show that my score for the weekend was 5-4 because I played a world's caliber player for a world's caliber match
Yep.
in the
I'll take
Shadow
it.
Realm, and I won. So
Nice.
I think that's fair. You had your own Shadow Realm round
yeah.
for the Shadow Round to
Yeah.
advance this 5-4.
Did anyone make us do it? No, but
You were there for it. You took on the extra
I
pain,
did
and
it.
you deserve
You
it.
did it.
yeah,
You believed in the heart of the cards, Yugi boy.
yeah, exactly.
Ah.
I will say though that game gave me a strong appreciation for what Storm Fiends can do. They're not really the talk of the town or anything right now, but by golly, those are some mean monsters.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Boggy
getting
did
more-
roll really hot, but
So
I
they had
keep
like
on
one of those,
looking
like-
over to Skaven to want to start putting them back on the table, and I haven't. I'm still waiting on my book. I am that late to the game right now as I've been playing
the
Daughters of
3d6
Cain and everything
attacks
else.
on like the big fists and the
Mhm.
and the flamethrower attacks is like
Oh,
really
God.
feast or famine, but he was rolling really well. Like he was getting 12 pluses on most of those. I was like,
Oh, nice.
okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've been really,
yeah.
I've been really digging, the Skaven for my dabbling. I mean, very much just for the Regiment of Renown, and you get some of the randoms there too. But it is fun. I can see what you're saying about the Storm Fiends, even just from that taste. And
Yeah.
Matt, do it, man.
Yeah.
I've got him sitting there waiting.
It could mean nothing, but Matt Rose, who's like the creator of the game, was there, and in his own
cool.
dubious discreet way. He said the battle scroll is going to blow our minds. So that could
Ooh.
mean, I'll just help make it even more vague. It could mean that it's so minor and everyone wants it to be this big thing
Shut
and
up.
that it's nothing, right? And so he's gonna blow people's minds because the game's right there. It's just like a couple of tweaks, right? Maybe. Or it's gonna be so vast and crazy and they're gonna change so much stuff, it's gonna be like, what do we even do now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. Well, to that
Yeah.
point, when are we even expecting it? Like, when do we think the Battle Scroll is actually going to drop?
Usually December or January, depending on how late they want to be.
Yeah,
That's kind
so
of what
we've
I've
got
seen too, but I wonder if there's
we've got
any
the
info.
PNW Masters coming up
Yeah.
on
we
the
got
14th or
points,
15th
right?
or something.
Mhm.
Hey, so
Today
you
there
don't
was
take breaks, do you, bud?
no, but I need
God.
to, man. Yeah, it's tough.
Rest later.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
rest afterwards. Will I play a different army? Probably,
Hell yeah.
Fair enough.
Hey, those,
Fair
those
enough.
beasts only had another half a year in them. Got to get that mileage and while it counts.
Well, man, I don't know. I thought about just running it back. Like I've got the most reps in with them, but
Okay.
I know I derailed myself like usual, but
Yeah.
honestly,
That's what we're here for, dude. That's
yeah,
content.
I've had a
That's
ton
the
of
always
fun
strikes
playing the
late
Beast
way.
of Chaos, right?
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it feels very much like a caveman army. Um,
I get that.
yeah, and not because the models look like cavemen, necessarily.
No.
I mean, they look like
No.
goats. They look
Yeah.
like the people
Cave
that
goats.
eat the cavemen.
Right. And I just wanted on
Alternative
record that I
evolutionary
was fighting
pathways.
for Azir the whole weekend, you know? Like
Oh,
the Dragon Ogres traditionally from Azir
that's
were kicked
true.
out by Sigmar. So I
That's
fight for that,
true.
right? So
He fought for it, but no dragon ogres in your list.
no, God, no. They do. They do not play nicely with the goats. So
No.
we have to keep them separated.
Yeah.
But yeah, on one hand, like I could play them, but
What?
also I don't want to get to a point where I'm not having fun, right? And
Mhm.
so
Sure.
I have been switching up lists, and this was the first time I've doubled played a list back to
Mhm.
back or a second time, and a third time feels like dangerous territory. So
I
Yeah,
do
'cause
think you could end up burning out, like, the entertainment fun factor for yourself with that. I could totally see that happening,
right,
as I think I do that to in my own play style.
Yeah.
right, and
Mason, you are a special flower with that skill where you need to bounce. You need to bounce. You
yeah,
need to bounce.
right.
Be free, baby. Be free.
Yeah,
Do something crazy.
I
Take
know
Do
it's
photos.
weird, but
thing.
the thing about the thinking about playing it a third time just it, it
Yeah.
worries me because I don't know, it became kind of autopilot,
Mhm.
and I think we're gonna do another episode or another chat and talk about the games and get into like
Yep.
reflection
Yeah.
on all of that. So we're just talking wide here, but
There's a lot.
it was a ton.
That's
Yeah,
a
it's just
lot.
way too much. Yeah.
I'm proud of you, buddy, for doing
Yeah,
as much
I
as you did
appreciate
for
it.
Wouldn't going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Part of
like,
me also, hear me out, hear me out. This sounds crazy coming from me,
Yeah.
but they added a cool Highlander award element
Oh,
to
nice.
the Masters, right?
Okay.
So part of me was thinking, what if I just take Feck and go like hardcore Highlander,
Yeah.
Would it be
right?
the time to dip back into Feck?
Maybe. I mean,
Could that-
they're not amazing, but I just think it could be a really nice palate cleanser because it's my army, right? Like it's my
Yeah.
stuff, it's my board, it's my army. It's the one that I have everything for, and
For
I
sure.
can do Highlander and like it's nothing because it's the one thing that I've got. So part of
That's
me
how you have to
seems
build
really
that army
fun.
these days, too, actually.
I
So,
know,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's not because I was like, okay, Usharon, Marrow Scroll Herald,
Yeah.
a reinforced unit of ghouls,
Yeah.
a reinforced unit of Crypt Guard.
Yeah.
Then you got 6 horrors and 6 more Bank Knights.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it. I'm seeing
That
it.
works.
So you've got an Arc Regent, right, as the second hero. So I can still be 2 drops, and I can max it out, and so I've got like 7 units, right? But they're maybe it's 6 or 7 units, but no duplicated. Everything's reinforced, and it totally makes sense because that's what Flesh Eater Courts does, right?
Yes.
We revive and bring back a half strength, so you want to reinforce everything. So it's like on brand. and it's Highlander, which is fucking hilarious because the Flesh Eater courts already are delusional. So Usharan, I could just have Usharan be Highlander all weekend.
Yeah.
That'd be
There
great.
can be only one more dark.
Right. Right.
The
Exactly.
and the army itself, like having now fought against it a lot more than I expected to. Like
Hmm.
it fits your play style, like your immediate like denial play style.
Oh yeah.
Like so, I don't know. I know they're not higher up there, but I don't know. They're still scary. Every time they're put up on the board after the first time I learned how they work in the new edition,
Mhm.
there's just
Yeah.
fast enough to be annoying and just sit there and fuck with you for the entire game.
Yep.
Mhm.
I've got a few other things that I was flirting with for Worlds also, but I was worried about like Night Haunt meta. And so
Oh, sure.
yeah, so I was testing like a Monster Mash Sylvaneth with Callus and Toll.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so that's potentially on my palette as well because I still have a coworker of mine that I got into Sigmar has Sylvaneth, and so I have that stuff here at the house still because I was
Nice.
borrowing
Okay.
that
Yeah.
just to test against it because there were two in my pod, so I wanted to put it on I wanted to put it in front of me and see um spacing and stuff. And then also I had this hilarious um discovery watching Release of the Beast because man, I like watching a lot of TTS when I'm at work. I can like listen to it and just kind
Yeah.
of follow along because I'm one of like 11 people on Earth that find enjoyment of watching Warhammer games. Just like
Yeah.
That itself
listening
is
to
a
the
secret
struggle.
skill, Mason. That's a
Yeah.
secret skill.
So listening to people like struggle through decisions vocally while they play TTS and like talk out what
Yeah.
they're doing when I can like have it up on a screen, like I can't tell you how valuable that information is. But
No, it
It
makes
um
perfect
is.
sense to me.
yeah,
You hearing
but
everyone fuck it up, you're like, how do I do this? How do I do this?
yeah,
How do I do it?
right.
You're like,
Mhm.
I
okay.
saw someone on Release of the Beast playing 8 big pigs, and it looks like it could be the most fun that you could have. I don't
Big
know.
pigs.
Okay.
Yeah, 8
Oh
of them.
boy. They're
I can see it.
scary.
I can totally see it. But that's the opposite of the army that Matt labored to build last year.
They're the big pigs are scary though, man. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 4s or 5s and 2s all across the board. You can juice up a couple of them. So the way it works is you go Tusk Boss, Grunta, Hack and Crew, and
Yep.
Okay.
then
Yep.
Tusk Boss. It's two of the same loadouts, right? So it's
mhm.
Boss, Hack and Crew, and 2 regulars, and then Boss,
Okay.
Hack and Crew, and 2 regulars. So it's 2 drops.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
I haven't quite landed on if I would go with the Army of Renown or
Mm,
the Iron Jaws proper and just take the sub faction. Um,
sure.
yeah, there's some cool things either way, but honestly, it is a super denial army. It is really cool. Like if you play it just right, yes, you can get like 6 damage attacks or whatever.
Mhm.
But again, it's 4s and 2s, and one of them might be juiced up. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's gross. Like, and if you're rolling 4s, like you're connecting for huge amounts of damage with the big pigs. But
Yep.
in Iron Jaws proper, Mighty Destroy is still pretty gross, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
pigs are super fast, and so with their ability to be fast and power through and Mighty Destroyers, you actually have like a lot of denial wherever you want it because you can kind of go crash in, do your thing, hip out with power
Ouch.
through, be
Yep.
3 inches away on their turn. Okay, Mighty Destroy is in and come
Yep.
tie up something that wasn't even remotely engaged with you.
Yep.
So
So
really
those big
tricky corn
bases.
play. That blue brain right there.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. See,
Oh, I
and
love
so
it.
part of me thinks that even though it's Iron Jaws, an army like that is like also right up my alley and tricksy enough that it could be a palate cleanse from.
You know, I could see that. I mean, definitely different. I just think it's
Mhm.
so appealing because it fits the theme of what you would think, like a bunch of giant piggies charging around head with the momentum points and all that movement.
Yeah,
Like it's almost what the Stonehorn builds used to want to be, right? Where
right,
Yeah.
Mhm.
they're all rolling around and just running you over.
right.
Yeah, but considering it's orcs, like you know the soundtrack is like as
Yeah.
they're like smashing through everything.
Right.
Like,
You just
yeah.
have to
I
do it and
did.
paint them all a bit red because they go faster that way.
Mhm.
Mm.
My mother was a real sweetheart, and she texted me and said when I was there, and she was like, "Oh, I'm so excited that you're at the World Championships. I just sent you some money so you can buy yourself something while you're there." And I
Aw.
was like,
Aw.
you're too
That's
Nice.
kind."
adorable. Oh,
So
that's great.
I bought
Yeah.
myself a box of 10 new Ard Boys, which I know is a weird
Nice.
gift choice, but they had it there, and
They
I
look
walked
so
through that
good.
whole store like 3
Yeah.
times. Exactly, Matt. And
Yeah.
it was the best looking kit that I could see
Oh
because
yeah.
I didn't want to buy like a huge big guy. I didn't want to like just spend all of it on a brand new big thing something. So I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm gonna buy something that I'm like enthused about, that's really
Mhm.
cool. And like what they announced at the event, everyone was chattering, and I just didn't even give a shit. I didn't know what they had showed at the
Eldar,
very
baby.
yeah,
Go
they showed a
Z40K
whole,
land.
but
Hey
they
man.
yeah, but they
Yeah.
showed the orc stuff, and I was like, okay, neat. Well, yeah, sure, I'll buy a
Yeah.
box of Ard Boys. So I'm kind of stoked to get those guys painted up. So I've got my head
Nice.
on the Wa Road right now. So maybe the
Okay.
big pigs could be a
That
fun.
that could be the sign you needed there, but that's
Yeah,
really fun.
Yeah.
I was actually really excited about that spearhead news that they dropped for Iron Jaws. That's
Yeah.
literally the stuff that I need to finish my Iron Jaws that I want to do. Because everything
And
else I pretty much have, and I'm not
well,
interested
it's
in
like
the
10 Ard
pigs.
Boys, 5 brutes, and 3 ragers, and
Yep.
a
Mm-hmm.
and a boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, get
Yeah,
2 of those and you're good to go.
big
Honestly,
time.
yeah. You know, you keep one of the bosses maybe for the army, and then another one as a display piece, and you're fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Seems right.
Oh.
Seems right.
I think Iron Jaws is. I think you can play a pretty good list right now. It will have a couple of bad matchups and a couple of bad missions. So obviously, an obvious statement is it's better in a teams format. You can control that a little bit better. But
Mhm.
something with like 40 Yard Boys, a big pig or two, and the Git Regiment of Renown is a very
Oh
good
yeah.
mix.
The bottle snatchers.
Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
you can't
I'm with you on that.
make a ton of mistakes with the Iron Jaws pieces of the army, but
Mhm.
the Git stuff buys you everything that you want, right? You get little
Yeah.
cav, you get
Yeah.
little
Mhm.
idiot sacrificial unit, you get
Mhm.
a wizard unit. Like
Yeah.
it's good.
Flexibility
Units are high
toolkit right there.
drops.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And again, it's a fun army to go 3 and 2 with as well for newer players, where it's just you walk up and smash it. It's just
Right.
this flavor is green.
Right.
You know?
You know, and one day we'll get Scott on who
Okay.
messaged me a little bit earlier today actually. He's like, guess
Ooh.
who's the best Iron Jaws players ever? And
Oh?
the man who took one of our episodes and then proceeded to table me on turn 2 with Iron Jaws.
Go
So
on.
one day we'll get him on here and he can you guys can wax on it all like for an entire episode.
You know,
I would love to hear you both
Nice.
It can be
balance
the
back
Orc
and
Love
forth on
Fest.
that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Scott is so awesome because we joined the Corsairs like right around the same time. I met him down in Bend, Oregon, and he's a
Okay.
really awesome guy. And he like only played Iron Jaws, like that was his jam. And he
Yep.
was
Nice.
after that tournament realizing that for the way that he wanted to play with Kragnos and these big units, he needed to go to a 1-drop
Mhm.
to control that he doesn't have to go first so that he can try to double do the
Mhm.
Iron Jaws Kragnos thing, right? So
Yep.
Yep.
he was having good success with it and got shut down by the Beast of Chaos in Portland because they alphaed him, and
Oh.
then had lost a couple of other matches here or there, but was doing really well because I mean he was playing it well. He had
Okay.
figured out how to do that Iron Jaws hold back.
Mhm.
Okay, pull
Yep.
the trigger, go strategy, and then we played at Feast of Blades.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mine. You guys
yeah,
were on the
yours.
small
Yours.
table and you guys wouldn't
Yeah.
stop giving me shit about being on the small
You were
table.
there. You
Yeah.
were there.
Yeah, that's right. I remember all of those things.
We did a review episode on this. Come on,
I
people.
know. So I just, my Warhammer brain is full of information and fog also.
Completely
Fair
understand.
at
No, I
this
just wanted to
point.
give
but
Matt some
but
shit.
we played, and so
Hey, man.
he
Go
thought
on.
that I was going to alpha him with instead I did absolutely nothing for as long as possible and just scored max points and won that way. And I think it like really changed how he viewed the game. And then he started playing these like 3 and 4 drop Iron Jaws lists and really kind of
Okay.
like figuring out, he took quite a few L's practicing that, and he was just like kind of in the orc way, like bashing his head into it, like really trying to
Mhm.
figure out how I do this, and then finally clicked. And I think it's really
Okay.
been awesome to watch him evolve as a player from like somebody that's like this one drop, I got the strategy, okay, but then
Mhm.
to be shown that there are different ways to approach how you play this game, and how you can unpack that army differently, and how you can dictate tempo of the game, and how you can score points and realize that you can stretch what you need to over, you can elongate what's happening. um so it's been cool to like watch him go through that with Iron Jaws, because
Nice.
they are a struggling army. Like they're
Mhm.
not
Oh yeah.
incredible. And so it's been cool to see him do that and like power through and move through the different elements of the Iron Jaws army. As finite as it is, it's noticeable how much he's grown. So I think he'd be an awesome guest for you because he's a cool dude.
Hell
That's
yeah.
fantastic.
I sounds like he finally found out how to be brutal and cunning.
Oh
Ew,
man. Oh,
Linga.
hey, Matt, dad jokes are my thing, man.
Come
Hey, you
on,
know what?
man.
And Mason's.
Uh, we can we
Yeah.
can we can we can share the wealth. We can do it. I
Fair,
believe in
fair.
it.
Oh,
So there
I'm
was.
in
Oh,
favor
sorry.
of
Go ahead.
puns.
Go
No, I'm just saying I'm in favor of puns. Spread the wealth.
ahead. So there was one thing that we really didn't, find out, and considering it's going to be 8 whole games when we do come back and talk about the entire tournament. Well, 9 really, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
We can sneak the Shadow Realm in
what'd you
there.
do to get ready?
Oh
yeah.
man. Okay, so so
The
prep
ritual. The
goes.
ritual.
Oh yeah, okay, we can get there for sure. The prep goes back to after I qualified from Tacoma Open.
Hmm.
There
Yeah.
were like 5 GTs, I believe, that were happening in advance of Worlds, and so I knew I wanted to
Yeah.
attend all of those.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't have a clear goal in mind right then and there, but I just knew I wanted reps, right? I wanted the
Okay.
most competitive reps that I could. Of course, I took like 5 different armies because I'm a maniac, and so
You
I
are.
gained very little, but also a ton. So,
Yeah, but you're
um,
our maniac.
yeah,
So
appreciate
Yeah.
it.
And you
So
know
a
how
ton.
a bunch of other armies work now because you played them all. So you're like, cool, if I run into this shit, I know how to get through
Yeah,
it.
I mean it's a
Right,
strategy, a really valid
right.
strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also, like I said, like absorbed as much as I could and watched games throughout that whole period of time and really kind of, absorbed and kind of evolved everything I could learn about the edition and how to
Hmm.
play and nuance and tricks and all sorts of stuff. So,
Good.
kind of just took in, elevated that level of involvement and, um, investment, I guess,
Hmm.
from a
mhm.
personal standpoint from that moment on. Um, I did as many test games as I could, kind of like ran through armies, um, to
Literally and
play.
figuratively.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Settled on Beast of Chaos, basically following Feast of Blades. So right before list submission,
Hmm.
I had lost round one. I wasn't feeling great about it. I was like losing round two, and I was like, my mind was melting. I was like, what is happening? This is just not doing what I expected it to do. I was able to turn it around. Then I was able to kind of put the list into a different light. That game with Scott was really a palate cleanser for me to play it that way and be reminded that I can do that. And then
Hmm.
um re-fell in love with it as the event went on. I was like, okay, cool. I'm setting with this. I'm a minor pivot, change up, but then I
Yeah.
locked in my list. So from that point on, actually, after list lock, um, the prep changed quite a bit, I think, because a couple of days later we got our group pods. And so now I knew the first 4 people that I was going to have to play, right? And so my study and focus and everything changed from what I could do in this wide audience to a much more narrow focus on those other 14 or 15 lists in my grouping.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, I also went through and printed off all of the missions and kind of like marked because we didn't know what ones we were gonna get until day of,
Sure.
until we checked in, and so um, I like printed off a picture of every, a copy of every single mission so that I could measure out where, based on where the objectives were, because I didn't like, make a ratio for the for the size, but just based on where the objectives were, I could kind of pinpoint where I wanted to put my herd stone on all of
Yeah.
these missions because we were going
Mhm.
to use the
Yeah,
placement.
that's
And so
huge.
yeah, and so that way, when I got to a table, if I was going to do something, like there are a couple missions, Scorched Earth is an example where there's a giant piece of terrain right where I want to put the herdstone. Right,
Yep.
it's a good
Yep.
it's a good layout for the herdstone for placement because I want to be wholly within 18 of the board center.
Mhm.
But there's a giant piece of terrain and it makes it very challenging. So you have to kind of figure out where you're going to place it and then give and take a little bit. But
Okay.
so I focused on that so that I would never be confused or um um guessing where I wanted to put
Mhm.
put the
Yeah.
terrain piece. I had a game plan for basically everything. And then when you play it like Night Haunt, when you play against Night Haunt, you play like you do third edition and you put in the back corner with just enough room for a fucking shaman to stand behind.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
that
Yep.
it's just a human shield
Body
or a
block.
stone
Yep.
shield for your revive shaman. So
Yep.
I had to do that in one game because I played Night Haunt. But
Yeah.
um so yeah, so
Good.
I printed that stuff out. I was mapping out deployment and kind of where I wanted to go. Couldn't get too much into that because there was only going to be 8 of 12, so it would have been unreasonable. And like I would
Yeah.
have thought we were going to be on something like Scorched Earth and Limited Resources,
Mhm.
and we didn't have either of them in the pack.
You
Really?
easily could
So
have over
Nice.
prepared for that one.
exactly, exactly. And I assumed that they would because they're challenging ones, but we had neither. So I'm
Wow.
glad that I didn't really get too into it. But like Scorched Earth was one for deployment that I was worried about having to do, and it wasn't in the pack. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that I took the time to kind of draw out where I would on everything because my mind went to it every time, and I didn't have to guess.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
uh,
And then take your opponent into account and make that mental math, make it even longer, like
Mhm.
Right, right.
even
And
more
we had
doubt.
time, but I still wanted to like be in a rhythm. Like my unpacking, my deployment was always pretty much spot on. I knew what I
Okay.
wanted to do. I did make a few uncalculated mistakes, right? Like I
Hmm.
maybe technically could have been like considered unforced errors because I could have avoided them, but just
Mhm.
Mhm.
miscalculations, right? So
Mhm.
um that will be interesting to go through. But um, yeah, so for most of my deployments, I was pretty happy with. Most of my prep work on the deployment and placement was pretty good. But yeah, then I
Mhm.
had these lists, right? Everybody, the 14 or
Yeah.
15 people in my pod. So I went through and I broke it down. I put like two on a Word document together. I took everybody's names off of their list and I erased like all of the fat and I like color coded it kind of so I could just clearly decipher what I needed
Yeah.
and really started like evaluating what the list did, what my like biggest threats were,
Mhm.
what pieces of the armies were like the most exploitable, and like what was their overall game plan. I actually decided to rope in Beasley and Carson as
Oh.
well. I reached out to them and said, "Hey, I've done this. We're in the same pod, but that only means we can help each other. So I don't know if you guys are down,
Yeah.
but we should." And they were all in. So we
Okay.
Nice.
kind of worked together a bit and gave notes and feedback on what the lists were going to do. Um, just kind of like work through that as a little
Yeah.
little bit of a group effort.
Many hands make light work.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool, and I think it's just maybe an interesting wrinkle to that pod format or flight format they had you guys in because you did have the ability to sort of plan that level, knowing that you
right.
had the smaller field, not just like the massive other Warhammer players out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That gave you a
Um,
little bit of heads up, which is kind of nice. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
But man, it was a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's insane how different people play armies that I've seen played a dozen times.
Yeah.
mhm.
How different people approach the game, how the different
Mhm.
nations like
Oh
come
God. Yeah.
together and work together and
Mhm.
yeah, that was really cool. The French team was like on point with one another. They have like this whole
Yeah.
French Federation thing
And they're like
they pay
robots with that. They
into.
just go in and go.
I mean,
Okay.
they
Wow.
were like they had baskets of croissants. They were like walking around and giving all their players, and they had like
They
croissant
would.
dice that they gave me, and
That's amazing. I
I
yeah,
love that.
love
Mm-hmm. No,
I
they're
lost
about
two
their shit.
games. I played two French players, and I lost both times.
So just maybe not too strange, but like how was the difference in language? Like how was it
Yeah.
just having like because it's worlds, right? So you've got
Mhm.
so many different languages going on at once. Like I can only think of it as being in like a very closed like and tight airport is
Kind of. It was a
the
huge
amount of
conference
background
center
noise.
room. I mean, there
Mhm.
was noise, but it wasn't terrible.
Okay.
English was the
The
only
primary.
language of the event. Yeah, primary language of like that was the language that we used to play. So you needed to be able to speak and communicate in English.
Okay.
Um, my one of my French opponents did speak English okay, and we were able to communicate, but it was challenging.
Mm.
However, Warhammer is a beautiful art and language of its own, and so there
Indeed.
are very few things that that there was miscommunication or clarification on. We both knew exactly what we were doing and what we were saying, right? And so and this is in no way to poke fun or anything, but like the one of the only challenging thing was I was confused the way that he was pronouncing unlimited, right, when he was doing the unlimited spell. And so I didn't quite understand, but I didn't need to because I knew what he was doing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
were
So
already speaking the language of knowing the spell and understanding the rule
exactly.
interaction.
In
Yeah,
fact,
yeah.
the language barrier only came when I tried to make like silly small talk, you know? And
Yep.
so when I tried to like banter or ask questions or get to know him,
Sure.
that's where the language barrier came in. I was asking about the French use nicknames.
Mm-hmm.
For their events, they sign up and they compete as like a gamer tag
Yeah,
almost
they
they
normally.
use. Yeah,
Hmm.
and so I was asking him about his, and he like took off his shirt and showed me the back of his jersey. And I was
Mhm.
trying to ask him if they pick their own names or if the team picks the name for
Oh
them,
yeah.
or if like a friend picks it or
Ah.
whatever. And
That's
Yeah,
that
do you
was
get
a
a
really
interesting.
tough
nickname?
one. We were not
Okay.
getting there with that, and I said it's okay, not a big deal, you know. And it was totally fine. But like for the game itself, even though there was like that tough language barrier, we were able to compete. We were able to have a really clean,
Yeah.
tight game, with one another. And every opponent and every person I met, I constantly checked in with and shook hands and patted on the back and say, "How are you
Good.
doing?" throughout the whole time, even at the very end, the last day. Jeremy, the second French player, would come up to me and say, it was nice to meet you. Thank you for the game, all that stuff. So
Good.
tons of camaraderie and like lots of love. No bad games, no like cheating or anything
Yeah.
weird at all. Nothing like
That's
that on
awesome.
Thank
either side of the
God.
house. Yeah, on either side of the or at any game in that room. Like there was nothing that
Mhm.
I heard of, at least. So to be
No,
fair,
that's great to hear. That's in the
yeah,
spirit of AOS that
it
like
was,
we're all about here.
there are
100%.
situations where you're playing a game and you've missed something and you want to go back and your opponent says, unfortunately, no, right?
Yeah.
And here there was a lot of tightness with that, and it
Mhm.
has to be acceptable because it's the level that we were playing at, and it
Yeah.
wasn't being an asshole and it wasn't argumentative or fighting, but it's like when we're really past it, we can't. You're right.
Yeah.
And
I
so
feel like in an event like this, if not there, where?
right.
Like you have to be
And
able
and
to
the
own the
judges were
rule.
like active judging. So if they would walk by and see something or hear something or catch wind of a conversation that was happening, they would forcibly step in and they had like definitive
Good.
things they were doing. Oh, like okay, so one of my games I was playing against Seraphon player, he like had started casting some spells and like was done with the hero phase, and I went and did my thing, and then I went to go like open my notepad and I said, "Remind me of your battle tactic." And he was like, "Oh shoot, I didn't pick one," because we had talked about it and waffled about
Oh
it and then
no.
moved on. And so I like grabbed the judge real quick and I said, "Hey, can you remind me what we're doing here?" And he said, "I'm gonna go get my official stance," right? And so
Okay.
as he walked away, I thought to myself, "Oh man, no, I didn't want this. Like,
Yeah.
I just wanted to know if it was okay if he could just pick one now, right?"
Yeah.
So I actually stopped him because I had gotten Matt Rose. So I stopped him and said, "Matt, actually, I'm just gonna let him pick a tactic." And he said, okay, I just need to find out what the rule is. And I said, okay, you can do that, but I'm going to let him pick a tactic and we're going to play on. And he told me if that's what you decide, then play on. Right. And so like, I think what we came to find out was you've passed the opportunity. You cannot pick a tactic because picking a tactic is an ability. And like every other ability in the game, they are all optional. So, yeah, for the same reason, you can elect not to take a battle tactic at the start of the turn. So if you thought there are none that I can do or there are none that I want to attempt right now, I can elect not to take one. And that
I kept picking ones that I'm like, I'm never going to do. And I'll just hold the thing.
Sure.
See, well, learn something new today.
I think personally that's still the smarter thing to do because if there's a 1 in a million chance, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Fair.
But nevertheless, I was like, oh no, I'm just going to let my opponent pick this battle tactic because we were not fighting for anything that mattered. So like, I'm not going to like hustle this guy out of 8 points. But if we to the top 16, I would have probably been a different attitude about that because you know, that was that's something that's on you, the player, to pick and announce your stuff and move forward. And the idea, while it seems so subtle, is that we've gained a ton of information that we didn't have before. And so for like competitive integrity, it's important that you say, okay, well, you pass that window and you are
did not
allowed
know
to
you were
pass
getting
it.
all your spells. You didn't know you were getting all your prayer points off.
It changes everything.
The prayer.
Yeah.
Yep.
But in this match, in this case, where with my opponent, I was like, I don't care. Do your thing. You pick your tactic. It's fine.
I think that's fair in the spirit of like gentlemanly Warhammer, but also a good point. Like if you were the top 16, if it was like down to the wire, you know, maybe you do let it proceed in a very careful way.
But you know what? Honestly, I would have let my opponent pick it, right? It was literally top of 1 and nothing had moved or happened. And yes, he cast his spells, but he had set up, you know, knowing that I was giving him the turn. He was obviously doing take the flanks, right? So like I'm, you know, and maybe to my detriment in that situation, if I'm in the finals and I'd say, you know, but I probably would have let him do it because
I can still respect that, though. I mean, there's just a moment with any of these games, even the various highest levels. And I know we were just saying that if not here, where still it's a game you're playing with someone on a table where they're your friend, your potential friend, and you got to look at them in your community in the future. And you want it to be a positive community that is in the spirit of the game, not the rules lawyership of the game.
Yeah, 100%. And like even at a GT, especially if it's a golden ticket GT, you should probably do the same thing, you know?
Yeah, and you could always talk to your opponent at the beginning and say, hey, let's play this tight. I'm going to hold you accountable to your timings and windows, and you do the same for me, please. Let's not do big take backsies. Like if it's still in the movement phase and you had to do something at the start, like, okay, we could probably be cool with that. But, you know, if you miss a battle tactic or you miss placing, you know, when I played Beasley, he forgot to place a null hole for one turn.
No.
The second turn, he
Matt
pulled
Beasley
it out,
forgot a rule?
Yeah, he went to go play and he pulled it out so he wouldn't forget. And I thought he had put it there. And so we were like, oh, he said, oh man, I was going to put that over in this back corner and do this or that. Shit. And I said, man, I thought you placed it there. And so I said, let's roll. Okay. On a 4-up, you can put it wherever you want. On a 3-2-1, keep it there because I thought you had put it there, but I understand what you're saying. I remember you pulling it out to remind yourself. I thought you had waffled and decided to put it there. Nevertheless, we got the 4. We put it where we put it where he wanted it. You know what
That's why I love the roll of the dice.
That one felt fair because it was right on the edge and he had missed it for like 2 turns and did not ask to play them. Jeez. You know, like he owned it and this one was conscious. We both talked about it out loud. There was slight misunderstanding on the exact placement of it in the initial, whether that was still the placeholder or what, but then we did it, right? I had another game against a gentleman from Norway and I took top of 1 and like set up all my guys and failed this charge and didn't do anything. And my dude was like a hair off of the objective. right? And I said, "Oh shoot, I messed up I messed up setting up those guys." And he goes, "Yeah, you sure did." And I said, "Okay,
Yep.
awesome. Well, I got 7 points there. Boom." And so we were like
Yep.
talking after the game, and he was a great opponent, and I won that one, and we were like talking through stuff, and I was like, "Oh man, that was so silly at the beginning. I need to make sure I'm like because I said I was so precise and conscious with how I placed that unit." You could have easily inferred that I didn't want to touch it because I was placing my stuff precisely. And so he said, "Yeah, and if you would have asked me for the points, I would have given them to you, but I didn't because I said, I messed that up,' and I kept playing." And so you pick and choose, I think, and maybe the idea is you should like always ask because the worst they can say is no, but I just didn't. I was just like, "Oh, nope, no, I messed that up. I'll take my 7. Thanks."
I mean, I always play by the self-destructive rules, right? So I'm always like, nope, we're gonna keep going. I need to learn.
Yep.
I need to learn.
Yep.
So I always take that. I mean, especially to like get used to it. I'm never gonna get well, there's a very low chance that I would ever get to the point of playing Worlds, but like the idea that that would be something that I would totally screw myself out of a game on.
So
always...
in that same game, not to spoil it, just a little teaser. I had an Ungor unit be the hero of that game.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Little Ungoats.
Yeah,
so that was a lot to look forward to in the full.
In a lot of games, the Ungors are like nothing. They're just like point scorers. It's kind of maybe weirdly, if we got deep into it, like a fundamental flaw of the game in the edition right now that I've got these guys that like literally do nothing and they're non-interactive just so the rest of my army can be full interactive. It's a little bizarre. But yeah, it's kind of been a fundamental flaw of battle tactics over time, right? Is that they're like either do something completely egregious or fight the thing you were already going to fight. And so it was a little weird, but nevertheless, in this game, they were heroes. So that was really cool.
I'm excited about that.
We're gonna look forward to this full 8-game run through. I want to hear like the entire arc. But
I will say in prep for that, I've got a jet here in just a little bit, but I think my biggest mistake, as weird as it is, it was switching from 80 Bestigor to 60 and 10 Centigor and upping the Ungor unit. And I actually think the list that I brought was the better list. My downfall was that I tested GT games and test games with 80 Bestigor, and I should have stayed with that because I had a little more muscle memory familiarity with it. However, I do think the list that I brought is the better list, but I made some mistakes with the Centigors because of my lack of experience. Specifically, there was a game where I sent them and I shouldn't have, and there was another one where I was too defensive and I needed to go. So like there was some,
right?
Yeah.
The reps.
Exactly. Reps. And so that was maybe a little bit of a mistake, but also again, I liked my list. I ended up going 4-4, right? We said that, right? I went technically 5-4.
5-4.
Yeah, 4-4 was my goal.
The Shadow Realm counts.
Right. Yeah. 4-4 was my goal at the onset because before we planned the Shadow Realm game. It was good to hit that goal. It is weird in reflection. I'm not down on it. I obviously feel really good and proud of going and how I did, but it's weird to like have had that goal and not feel super accomplished coming out at 4-4. At the same time. So I think I said in the beginning, it was humbling in a lot of ways because I realized that I did a ton of practice and a ton of prep, like more intense warhammering for that short period of time than I ever have before. And I don't even feel like I was halfway where I needed to be. Right.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is it set a new goal essentially. And
I don't know, man. I don't know. Yes, of course, it's a goal to work towards, but it already took a lot for me to like do what I did and ask for what I needed from like family and friends and support and for all of that. And in no way was it, it was worth it 100%, but I don't know when I will be allowed to put that much effort and twice that much effort or more that I really feel like I need to, right? And
Oh yeah.
maybe that can come in a different way. Like maybe now I can do it more long form, and
Hmm.
so I don't have to jam pack a bunch of stuff
Hmm.
into. But I'm already like really into the game and getting better and learning and being
Yeah.
tapped in. So and it'll be interesting. You know, I'm ready for a little bit of a break through the holidays. So I'm excited to get Masters kind of done and over with to really think
Totally
about
fair in that. I think you've
what.
earned it, Mason, at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Seriously. Yeah.
what you're sounding like is like maybe you kind of burnt yourself out a little bit.
I don't know. I don't feel burnt out. You know, like I could go play games right now and I'd feel good
Yeah.
about it. I was asking people to play games. I wanted to play a 10th game and GW wouldn't leave terrain out after the games on Sunday because they wanted to
Oh,
pack it all up. I was really
okay.
annoyed. I asked like 3 people. Matt Rose was all about it. He was like, "You're a lunatic," and I want to say yes, but I should say no. And so,
Okay. Okay.
um,
Now,
yeah, I was gonna play another Norwegian guy just for fun, but
now,
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
great.
no, what I mean there is not just burning yourself on the enjoyment of the game, but putting so much into a competitive side that you may have overworked that muscle. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
In a
hmm
way,
yeah.
Gotta let it
and
recover now to become stronger.
I gotta touch brush the
yeah,
plastic soon or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
hey man,
And and it's also too, you've seen, you went up there, you climbed the mountain, you saw what people do to get up there.
Right,
And you're like, whoa, this is a lot from everybody to everyone's doing this. How do I get
right,
ahead? And you're already like getting into your own head of how can you get on top of people who are already getting on top of and on top of, because they've got their world's teams for practice. They've got different international competitions throughout Europe because all the countries are a train ride away. So their local
Hmm.
meta just changes. And you're like, cool, I need to go practice against Germany. They play this kind of style. I need to go to the Netherlands for this.
mhm.
In
right.
the US, unless you're shelling out for a plane ride every weekend, that's a lot to try
It
to
It's
is.
catch
a
up
fair
with.
point. Real fair point.
You
Yeah, but
know,
maybe one thing to keep in mind too is you can't sell short the fact that you put in all the effort to get there and put yourself in a position where you could have done all those things, right? Like, I don't
mm-hmm.
think
Right.
you were miles away from switching
No.
spots, with that number one spot,
No.
at the end of the
Yeah.
day. It's just you had some games, you made a choice where you were
Mm-hmm.
slightly less the best of gore and more of the gore,
Right.
and maybe that made the difference. Here, I'm
Well,
back.
yeah, and my goal and outlook and
Mm-hmm.
and everything was never that I was winning that tournament. When I
No.
left my door with my models and backpack in hand, like I
Mm-hmm.
there was no doubt in my mind that I wasn't winning. And like I said, 4-4 really was my goal, and I feel really good about it. And
And against the best players in the whole fucking world, Mason.
right,
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
huge accomplishment, no matter how you
Yeah.
slice it.
and
You take anyone
remembering
out of there, they all kick the crap out of anyone at the regular GT and win
right,
it, And you
right,
went
True.
against 200 and what, 8 you said they were there? Something.
a 130, I
130.
think.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah, something like that.
130, whatever it is. It's late here. It
Right,
always
it's
strikes
all good.
late.
Yeah,
Math is hard.
I
Yeah,
I, I think what Rocco,
130,
you
you
also
did
might
it.
say, he did it. There were no seals to hug at this tournament. There were no
No,
seals.
not at all.
no,
yeah,
No
it
seals to
yeah,
club, no seals to hug. There was nothing going on here
yeah.
besides going and doing
And
the
I have
thing.
nothing to compare it to, right? So it's the best that
Yeah,
I've done at something like that. So
yeah, and
yeah.
like
Well,
it's interesting hearing the I don't want to say it's like not being let down by not feeling as amazing as you think you should, right? But like I do understand that feeling to a certain degree, not from Warhammer, but in other life experiences where you climb this mountain
Yeah.
that to follow Rocco's analogy, right? You're climbing this mountain to get to this goal that you set for yourself. And then when you're at summit, there's a bunch of other people on the summit who are all doing the same thing, and you realize I can do more. And that almost like sets the accomplishment that you have just made to the side, right?
right, yeah,
And like I've had that happen with music stuff and
Mm-hmm.
like my
Sports
career
stuff here.
stuff,
Oh God, the
like
career stuff. Mm.
it's an interesting feeling, and I really empathize with it purely because like that's the drive that like keeps me going in that stuff at the very least. Like that's the cool part is like, oh, okay, they're all regular people too.
Right.
Okay, I'm a regular people too.
Yeah.
Here we go. Like,
Walked into a Hollywood party, you're like, oh yeah, we're all movie stars here.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it has been interesting to like, okay, I set the goal, I accomplished the goal, but
throw yourself a pizza party, Mason. Go get some shitty from Domino's. You and your kids go nuts.
Right, I know.
Have them bring people over.
I still gotta go make stuff tonight, so I gotta get out of here. Do you guys have any final questions before I, or do you want to save it all for the?
You know, I think
what are you making, dog?
That's a good question, Rocco.
So
sorry, Jack.
I'm doing some mashed potatoes that I'm gonna start prepping tonight. I'm gonna do it with red potatoes and gold potatoes. Combo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
you leaving some skin on?
Yeah, a little bit.
Maybe like
20%, 20-30%, maybe a little bit.
Sounds pretty good.
I'm also whipping up a white chocolate mousse for a dessert treat.
Love a good mousse. Nice.
It's very
this fancy man.
And then I think Janaea is doing up a couple of other sides, maybe some green bean casserole, and then just having the parents over, so an easy one.
Nice.
I'm just gonna clean up a little bit, but
fantastic.
Very nice.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna save my question officially to be answered, I think, when you have the 8-run description.
Okay.
But Rocco, you know what we're gonna want to know? We're gonna want to know at day one.
What
was the drink? What was the
drink? What were you doing, Mason?
Now.
I had to ghost day one, obviously, gentlemen.
There we
go.
Good.
There
we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you that little. Okay, we'll end the.
You're converting me
the
from
trailer.
monster to ghost every time you say
Dude,
it, Mason.
they're
I'm
good.
just like,
So
you know
good.
what? I should just break and do it. I should
just do it.
Well,
the official drink
you,
of Always
Mason.
Strikes Last now.
Ghost Energy.
Okay, you guys go talk about some fun news releases.
Gonna talk some new release stuff.
All right.
Have a good night, buddy.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Nathan.
Happy Thanksgiving, man.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. And to you too, dear listener.
I know, listener, you're down from a quadro to a trio.
Yeah, and you
we're
know
gonna
what?
Right.
The other thing too is, dear listener, as you've been hearing all these things and all these holidays are coming up, if you want to get some other dear listener in your life, something really cool, we have a merch store.
Oh yeah, there's that thing.
Yeah. We got one of those.
You know what the special people in people's lives, Rocky, really need? They need matching jerseys and booty shorts.
Oh my God. I mean, actually, those shorts are really comfy. I'm going to be honest. They actually are.
They are breathable.
No, they are. They're great. They breathe real good. They're fun design. And like and subscribe, hit the bell, do all that fun stuff too. I know we're sneaking it in like the middle of an episode, but
we are sneaking it in. And
it's
if you want to
comment, commercial-free commercial break.
leave a comment. And the interesting thing that you can do here is leave a comment with 7 words, 7 whole words. I want to read what they are. They could be gobbledygook, or you can tell me that you've written 7 words in a sentence format. Yes.
And if you have strong opinions one way or another about it, I mean, we do have an opinions complaints department channel. It's in the Discord, which requires a $2 Patreon per month subscription, but you can at any time come and submit.
Join our Discord and tell us off to our faces. It's okay.
Rewarding for us and for you.
But I'm the HR. I'll be so sad.
You can do it. I know.
You can do it.
I have an HR degree and I'm not doing that shit. Hell no.
Degrees in that. Oh,
so speaking of other things that don't have an HR degree or HR in general, because they're all too busy dedicating themselves to certain gods or being unaligned, guys, Slaves to Darkness. Bam. Are you guys ready? Are you ready?
I am both ready and so readily underwhelmed.
Okay, so
I don't know why you're underwhelmed, dude. You gotta walk.
Let me know why.
This.
Why? Yeah. So I'm gonna preface this with like I know you two have seen the breakdowns. I have been.
Yeah, I read my emails. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been not.
I got the material.
I've been not trying to get my hopes too dashed, and there's really only a couple of units that I'm interested in. I seriously have not learned much about anything with the new book other than my Therodons are the same.
True.
The war
She needed
scrolls
them
are
for
the
your premiere.
same,
Yes.
Yeah.
and my Myrmidon went down in points.
Yeah,
So,
a lot of things went down in points, which I'm excited about.
so
I mean,
that's where
that's
I'm
like
at.
an exciting thing, but maybe this is a good entry into it because I can sort of open up my mind to you, Rocco, to give you
Okay.
like my 2 cents on it.
He
I'll
has
just
his
sit
best.
in the corner.
Yeah,
I'm part of the
that mind
triangle in the
too.
corner.
It's like an isosceles triangle or something.
Yes.
When this is shaping
He's
up.
way off.
Way off, but
Go hang out with Miles and Ireland right now. All
it's
right,
true.
Jack.
All right,
What happened, man?
I'm
What
gonna kick this
happened?
off for a vigorous
Yeah.
debate. So it's not that I'm not happy to have a new book, or that I'm not excited to try some of the differences, or that I don't think
Uh-huh.
it's strong in
Uh-huh.
some ways. So I can see the potential for strength,
Sure.
but I feel like if I had the funometer,
Uh-huh.
all they've done is kick my funometer in the nuts on a
Oh
new
no. Your photometer's limp.
book. Yeah, it's a new book. This is supposed to be a time of excitement, of renewal.
Yeah.
It's like
You should be
Dude.
jumping up and
Christmas of
down,
Warhammer
banging your
season.
chest.
Yeah, 3 years until Christmas, right? You get one, and
Yeah.
then like it disappears for a long time. And
Yeah.
if I discount the Dark Growth release, which granted
Mhm.
was like this year and
Mhm.
kind of not that long ago and very cool,
Mm-hmm.
what they have given me in my book on the funometer side is exactly one new sculpt of a Chaos Source Lord. You can see the other 7 I have, which are all cool alternate sculpts they've given me.
Indeed.
Yes.
And
I am
and
seriously like, do I need to buy that? Do I
I
already
know.
have
They
The
so
Ultimate
many?
Marine Lieutenant release
So
over and over
many.
and over again.
they released a new
Yeah.
one like a month ago. There was a special commemorative. I bought
Shit.
that.
I
too.
know.
Almost did a
Like,
spit take there.
Like I better
God.
open up that that battle tome. There'll be some secret sauce about some infinite spell they can all do, not just in the special,
Give me some
Legions of
spite
First
tongue
Strength.
curse and everyone just at
Yeah,
D3 mortals. Bam, 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 bam. Big
Daka
Zinch
sorcerer
weep.
build. Exactly. But
Mhm.
like accepting that. They didn't give us any new models, no
Yep.
new sculpts, no nothing.
Yep.
They didn't change any of the war scrolls apparently from the index. It was sort of a
Mhm.
carbon copy almost. I mean, I'm sure there's
Yeah.
small differences, but almost a carbon
Well, I felt
copy.
it was Stormcast too. I'm
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they did do 2 critical things which hit me in the funometer hard. One, they took away my goddamn war shrine,
Yep.
which is a very characterful thing.
I
And there's like
Yeah.
thought
no
you were going to be
reason
sad about that.
to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All they've done is take away models from the range since the beginning of the year. We lost
Manticore
all the
Lord can go
cultists.
fuck off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a Manticore Lord too. The Sorcerer Lord wasn't even fielded yet, but now
Hey,
he's gone.
listen, Beasley touched me in the bad place with that thing once, and
Oh,
I'm not saying I'm sorry it's gone, but Manticores are for cities,
not
dude.
sorry.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
still
Team
feeling
Order,
the
bitch.
aftershock of Manticores from 3rd edition.
They're
right?
good guys now.
But
Yeah.
So stupid
No,
to say.
I
That's
feel you
so
on-
stupid to say.
I feel you on that. My Manicore Lord is now just another one to throw into the pile or convert, I guess, if I really want
guess.
to.
Yeah.
Into like
Um,
some other army's thing which you can find a home. Yeah.
My Famir army now has one less model I can use
God.
because the Soul Grinder is gone.
Yeah.
Which was another one. Though that being
Can
said,
someone
it's
tell me
same
why
base as
that-
Archaon.
Why was that ever in fantasy, the Soul Grinder?
It
I know
made
I
no
was a
sense.
40K.
None
It
of
made no
well,
sense.
I think a lot of it was, and I'm gonna kind of like wax into my ideas of like
Come out of that corner,
what
Matt.
they're doing.
Join us
right?
here.
I'm here. Let me pull my chair up and turn it
Emerge into
around
the
and
light.
sit over top of the back rail of it.
Yeah.
Like I think we actually talked about this right at the beginning of 4th when there was a big worry from at least myself and I think somebody else, but I can't remember who it was. We were talking about the 40Kification of AOS to certain degrees, right?
Yeah.
Where a lot of the rules came down in complexity and uniqueness. And
did we talk about that, or did I talk to someone else about that? I agree with
I
you.
think we talked about that.
Okay.
I think we talked
Okay.
about that on this. We'll have, dear listener, go back
Dear listener,
and let us know which episode.
the episode's free.
The
You can just go to
goldfish
the
brains of the
website.
host cannot recall their own episodes, but you too can tell us about them in the comments to the
Yes, with 7 words.
Fact check me, bro.
So the you know, like I expected models to come back. And so as we're eyeing these, the Manicore was the first thing on the list. I was like, yeah, that's probably going to go, because we saw it with the models that have been ported over to Old World, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like as soon as we see any of those with the nature of like beasts and my poor jungle orcs on ports, you know, I kind of
Port spiking it
expected
up.
us to be losing that, but I don't remember seeing the you know, the shrine actually being in the chaos release. Like I have the book, I haven't read through it because honestly,
Yeah.
why when I can play AOS? But
Yep.
the the loss of the shrine is pretty weird.
Yeah.
Like just from like like a character standpoint. Now I know that they're trying to like differentiate by department now for each models, but it feels like some of these releases and like sculpts are so disjointed now. Like what's going on with that?
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
it is, I can feel that pain.
wild.
I can feel that pain.
And that gets back to the Christmas effect, right? Like, I mean, it's the big moment for slaves for a while.
Yeah.
And we get negative, all the cultists, negative war shrine, hits keep on coming. And then insult to injury, you know, I mean, you go into the rules and you might say, well, at least they're going to refresh some of these lackluster, like index rules for the Dark Oath and kind of make them fun because that was the hot new stuff. You know, make my Wilder Fiends see play. I have 4 of them painted. Thank you.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're better bits and points adjustments for sure, but you know, not having seen the book, if it does hold out that all the war scrolls are roughly the same, there's still watered down versions of their potential in terms of raw fun. And then they just capped it off with this big change to the way the Eye of the Gods worked. I mean, they literally have swapped it out with a very cool, somewhat random but weirdly reliable table where you could see this like very fun potential of building up a unit to be better with its rend or to be tougher or to have some advantages, which felt very chaosy. And instead, you can only do that with one random character who can maybe become a demon prince or get a full heal and award. And that's good, but it's not that fun. And it feels like a complete letdown of
It's
like a
not
mini
Ren
game
4 on Chosen.
Yeah.
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 And
That's painful. Sorry, go ahead, Jack.
Oh, I mean, no, definitely jumping, Matt. I was saying it's a big change in the fun factor because I go in and part of the fun I would have is making those things happen. It doesn't matter if the Rend 3 red glowing eyes, Super Saiyan chosen, use all those abilities. It's fun to be able to pile them on and know I have that potential with any unit. But continue. Why don't you jump in, Matt, and I'll hold some more thoughts.
So there's, you know, I've commiserated with you. I don't actually, I haven't, again, I don't really know what the changes to that is, but I can say as somebody who has so much Slaves to Darkness, like I can, like I have more nights than I'll ever need now, right? Because of the points increases. The depth of the book. Well, so let me stay in the negative lane real quick, and then I'll move to the positive lanes. The depth of the book is probably never going to see the table, and that's the problem that I think Slaves to Darkness have always had, is that there are certain things that certain people, at least in the competitive meta, are always going to play, right? Farengard, Archeon,
Be'lakor chosen,
right?
Be'lakor,
and
tuck him in.
And
I've chosen you.
Those look like they've walked through and just kind of gotten better if I looked at the points.
Just go for whatever the god that's the debuff. Usually it's Nurgle.
Yeah.
And my banner and have a fun time. Yeah.
And it feels like we're back in the Rend Wars suddenly now, right? Because now we have Slaves to Darkness out. That book is like, from what I've been hearing, it's a good solid book. Everybody seems to love it from the competitive side. We've got a bunch of OBR on the table now. We've got Night Haunt because they're almost impossible to kill, right? 3 and up saves are the new norm now. For people that want to play competitively. And that's only like maybe a third of that book if the war scrolls haven't changed, right? So that means we're just going to see not even, we're going to see a third of that. We're going to see like a ninth of that book on the table now, just purely because they aren't like players. And this is more like when we move into that direct competitive talk, right? It's like, okay, well, we're only going to bring the best units and everything else is trash. And like, to me, that's the most disappointing part of the 40Kification of AOS, which is it has pushed players even more so into that like mentality of only take the best book, or only take the best book, only take the best army. You know, I was
there
talking
is
with,
no B tier build that you can go and win games with if you play it well.
Yeah,
you got to bring the face roll. You got to
and I was actually sorry. I wouldn't finish that one. I was actually talking with one of our Patreon members about the armies that he was going to take to Masters. Shout out to English Spy. You know, and he was like, you know, I've been playing this other army really well for what it does, but like if I'm going to go to Masters, you know, I want to play something that I know is top tier and I need to play this army and this is the way that it does it. And I want to add my own little thing to it, but he's really just playing the same freaking army with almost the same style of build.
Oh, the
right?
thing we talked about.
With the chariots, right? And even with the chariots coming in, like it's still an oppressive army and it's still, you know, you're locked into the certain key units that do the certain things, right? And it kind of waters down the experience. So that's where it is disappointing to see Slaves to Darkness like really fall into that trap really hard, especially when I have
Spike
so much
Johnny Spike.
It is so much Slaves to Darkness that I have, and I know you have just as much, if not more, Jack. And like
really 12,000 points, if not more, Matt.
Yeah. Actually, no, I do have more than you. I'm at like 19. I'm at like 19K.
It's hard to beat the archive. Okay, I didn't count the unassembled stuff, but
yeah.
Fair.
I mean, I haven't counted my unassembled stuff either. So I've got like 9 Vanguard that I refuse to put together because everybody else has them.
I literally take painting ones I barely play for the same reason, as I feel like I can't do it.
I've got 2 halves of the Stormcast from the new box right now that are just staring at me, going, "Hey man, what the fuck?" I'm just like, I split one and then I won one in a raffle, and I'm just like, I'm with you guys, but I've got maybe 12,000. Well, I mean, even after they called shit, 1,000 points of Stormcast. It's just, and Jack, I sympathize
20.
Wow. Okay.
20.
That's wild.
I
had to put the list together the other day.
Matt, do we need to go and get a few people together? You okay, buddy?
We're gonna look behind one of those like plastic bins and find the Ark of the Covenant. This is where they put it.
It really will be.
That's why he has a background. If you watch the video of this, it's to hide the hoarding shells.
We'll get a better setup where you guys can see my like crammed area of everything.
I'm curious.
When we start doing the shorts,
seen it.
When we start doing the shorts, I'll set it up so you guys have to see my mess that is everything shoved into one area.
I'm excited.
I look forward to that.
But I have the same thing. I still haven't put together my Skaven or Stormcast because it's like I know those are going to be the best because they want to get them out, they want to sell them, and like to their credit, it's working. But it is kind of for us old heads, it is a little demoralizing. I could see.
It's one of those things too with the Stormcast book, if I could pick it up for a second, in that even like when they went to the simplified sub factions in the index, I'm like, you know, because I've got my smattering of stuff that I liked, you know, for Vanguard stuff, I've loved Long Strikes almost as long as Jack Ballard has. And it's like, cool, I've got the 1 unit. Okay, I can't really do Vanguard Wing. All right, what do I do here? Oh, I only have the big name dragon. I've got either head that can go on it, but cool, I don't really have Exemplar Chamber that can go and do the shrugs. Okay, cool. I've got Warrior Chamber stuff, nice, but the rest of my stuff was like Sequitors. They're no longer here anymore.
They're just new Liberators.
Yeah. But I'd need 2 chambers to get the Warrior Chamber and somebody else hanging out. I don't have enough of the so I'm like, even like how the they're bringing all the stuff together in the simplification of the rules to go and be like, cool, here's your core of the shit you need to be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
My Stormcast, I'm just looking at this and it's like, I didn't even buy the new book because I've
So
got other stuff. I've got Zinch, I've got Deepkin, which I have the wrong type of elves now. Before it's my defensive eels, and I had sharks in units, beating the snot out of things. And
mm-hmm.
even then, I'm like, now they're back to being single sharks. They die real quick, man.
Yes, they do.
Yep, yep.
I mean, but
It's
that's our choice we get to make, right? And I
Yes.
do want to say that and now I'm gonna go to the positive. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
go to the
Yeah,
there's
positive moment,
positives
positive
with
moment.
this.
I do appreciate that we got indexes. Like when an my humble opinion is that when an edition gets indexed, and like we saw this with ninth, we saw this with third, we saw
Yep.
this with sixth to a degree of 40K,
Mhm.
like it is the best state of the game for
Yep.
having fun and playing like pseudo
On an
competitive,
even field, even enough.
like and so like that's where I was like, okay, I know Stormcast is coming out, and now I definitely know Skaven is coming out.
Yep.
I'm gonna go and enjoy the other armies that I play, right? So
Yeah.
like freaking Daughters of Cain and Soulblight are the armies that I'm working on, right? I already know that I have all the others ready, and like I just finally got the books for Stormcast and Rats,
Yeah.
because like the time has passed enough where I can be like, okay, people have figured it out, points have been adjusted, or they're going to be adjusted soon, and by the time I'm picking these up, right, like I don't have to deal with that meta chase slash, is this going to be something that's like vexing me because it's going to change later, I built this whole strategy about it, yada yada yada. And I think that's like a positive way to kind of look at the game, which is let everybody else chase the fucking cart, right? I'm going to be the dog that's sitting at the bowl, and they're going to be putting in the food. I'll be fine and fed, right?
I think that's fair. Sometimes, when the wave passes and things settle down, it's better to, you kind of know what you got, and it's fun to play with that without any nasty surprises. I think, just, and I'll come into the light of the positive land too, but just a dark side for just one more minute. I think it's just
one more minute.
It's just like the Bear Pickens Christmas feeling of like, I am as far as I'll ever be. Plus, I think 1 week from a new book whenever I grab that pre-order.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this is what I got, and how exciting is this for me to play? Because I've been playing Slaves of Darkness a while, and
it's a test action for you.
Yeah, and I was looking forward to like it just being like a refresh within that because of the changes in the book and finding new synergies and strategies, and it's just a little bit like, okay, I guess we're just doing this now. That being said, to shift to the positive, it's not all bad, right? I mean, they do have a Legion of the First Prince, like special armies, so there's some fun stuff to experiment with there. That seems kind of fun using demon units. And I do think that as much as the shift to the marks is going to change things, the pledges thing is not all bad, and it has actually kind of, to maybe to the point you were making earlier, Rocco, made some of the units which are already strong even stronger. Like, yeah, they can't get super Ren, but you can get automatic 3d6 charging chosen with +1 attack and a banner now, and like
that's nice.
Yeah, it simplifies army creation, right? So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely seems like a book that's pushing us towards a very discrete number of units to benefit from the fact you can only pledge so many times. There's only one banner. But yeah, that top third of the book gonna be just fine.
So now I'm going to drag you fully into the light of the happy side. This book is going to be so much easier to play for your opponent. If you're playing Slaves of Darkness, following the buffs and making sure that your little notepad had everything written out for them, and then just having a little bit more concrete like decision making, right? While the randomness was probably one of the coolest things, there was nothing more fun than seeing my Therodons have like a shrug +2 rend and like just unstoppable walking tanks by the end of the game. Like that was an outcome that I would never be able to predict, right? So,
Yeah.
and that was also like mental load when playing the game for myself and for my opponent, right? I think that the changes to that being a little bit more concrete allow you to actually play a little bit more tactically.
Okay.
Okay. Which, I mean, it's good. That's good, especially for that it's the tide that raises all ships, even if the other ones are still half underwater. Like I am super excited to actually pull out the Dark Oath and play with them and start getting marks on them and like start seeing what I can do with them, because now it's guaranteed, right? I'm not going to be like trying to kill units to try and get a, +1 rend on them and then hopefully get another +1 rend from something else. Like now there's actual things that I can do, right?
That's
that are
fair.
planned. And like it does sting. I think the problem of having enough editions and going even further back into Warhammer Fantasy Battle and then 40k side as well is like we've grown up with the thematic feel of being able to play to the character of an army.
Yeah.
And as the game becomes more competitive, that character is going to feel like it's leached away a little bit. I actually had a great conversation with a very good friend of mine who was talking his 40k meta, and he was talking about how there's no like psychic phase anymore, which was a huge thing for 40k, right?
That's true.
It was so fun for so long.
Yeah. So there's this entire psychic army called Thousand Suns that no longer has a phase to last like 3 hours.
Man, my
that 3 hours was so much fun.
Yeah.
But it was also 3 hours where your opponent was sitting there going, what are you doing? Right. And I do like that. And I feel like I am in your boat, Jack, of like, they took away my models. Did you guys see Toby? I put so much time into Toby.
He was so cool.
Giant
he was the best
Toby.
little plague toad ever. I love him.
Yeah. And I'm not, well, I think that was the Soul Grinder. The big,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the
right?
big one, right?
Yeah. So like, cool. Now I'm gonna have to figure out what the base works for, anyways, in an entire proxy army. Let's be honest. But
fair.
Let's
not get too crazy here, man.
The loss of the fun, quirky stuff is probably more beneficial for us in the end when it comes to actually playing in a tournament, wanting to place higher, because we're the old heads. We love the character. We want to build that stuff into it, but like,
it's a trap.
Yeah, it's a trap. It's usually
a trap. I just want Shelly Baby Girl to be good and
I mean, I do the same things. I like having like the special snowflake army. That's just my idea. I like to find the weird combinations. A lot of the fun is going in with this like unique character you built into it. And sometimes does work and you crush it, get the brass ring or whatever. But yeah, sometimes like other people aren't doing that for a reason because they've discovered that, 12 Varangard and Bellicor is just fine.
Hey,
Listen. But the great thing is, like, that's what people are going to be building their list for, right?
Yeah.
People are going to be building their list now to kill Archaon or Bellicor and those. And that means when you roll up with an all Dark Oath army that has recursion, which they're not used to fighting in Slaves to Darkness, and you can buff up things, then maybe you'll catch them on the wrong foot.
Yeah,
maybe you throw 400 chariots into them and do like a mini list of what Mason was talking about with the big picks, right?
Yeah.
There's still options because that book is huge. There's so much in it.
It's very true. It's very true. It's just, I feel like it's like the fact that the pool has just been getting shallower. It just makes it feel like there's not as much that. Still with a deep book, and you think about it, you had at probably the max point, you had all the Slaves to Darkness stuff, all the cultists, all the whatever, and like much of it was not good. It would never be the thing you typically choose outside some wonky idea, but it was there. And you
Mhm.
also had access to all the stuff through like the coalition rules. So you could very
That's
easily bring in whatever you
All the
wanted or
coalition
allies.
stuff being gone
Like
now it
Infernal
hurts, dude.
Enrapturouses showing up and doing cool stuff. Like the
Yeah.
combinations are pretty good sizable lake. Then the
Mhm.
drought hit, and then allies and all that gone, just regiments of renown. Like,
Mhm.
okay, we're a little thinner. Then we got like a little bit of rainfall in the form of the Dark Oath releases, which added really 2 units, if we're gonna be honest, like the Fiend and like the Horseman. And
Yeah.
then the waters receded again quite a bit with the indexing of all the cultists and stuff. And then, it's not bad, but lost a little more with the sorcerers or the Manticore stuff and the War Shrine. And we're like
Mhm.
in functionally an okay place to your point, but it does feel like not the lake we just had.
well, and you actually hit it right before I was gonna try and put some context into it. But yeah, the loss of coalition like made Slaves to Darkness go from this anything goes
Yeah.
to a oh no, this is guys in armor, dudes on horses, and
And Conan,
barbarians,
then you'll
right?
like it. Only
Yeah.
Conans.
And
Regulation Conans.
what
Is,
Yeah.
is that a beak mask? Get out of here.
I get it. I get it for sure. I think when this edition reaches like partial maturity and we get a couple more regiments out from other books that you
Mhm.
can put in, I think you'll probably get that back, to be honest. I think that's their way of like trying to keep things hinged. you
It
know?
it it does
And
make
it makes
sense.
sense to me. Yeah. Like the fact that Skaven, yeah, there we go.
You
Boyd
are
man.
perfect. You are perfect in every way right now, Rocco. Never change.
Boyd man.
Just had that waiting. Oh my god, it's perfect. For people on the podcast who are podcasts who can't see the video,
Oh, we lost his mic.
Rocco literally had a bird mask, like a plague doctor mask, in the
I
wings
was
during
muted.
my comment.
But
Oh,
yes.
When those
All
come
right.
in, like I can see the edition expanding specifically for Slaves to
mhm.
Darkness. Like,
Mhm.
and so we'll get that. It will be time.
Yeah.
I think it is bittersweet to see a lot of that stuff go. But like in the end, I was never gonna bring the spider guys from Warcry into a game if I was gonna play a tournament
They
or even
were really
like
good for
random.
mortal. Yeah.
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 I mean, like there I hate to be like this is the way it is, but like man, this is the way it's gonna be. And
Yeah.
it's
We
gonna
just
be
gotta live in this world.
interesting.
It's true.
Hey,
It's
Cities
gonna
is
be
going through it too for us
it's
Order fanboys.
yeah.
It sucks losing your coalition. Again, a lot of my Stormcast, all of a sudden I'm not playing anymore because it doesn't go in my cities. Belthanos don't go in there no more neither. I,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
kicking ass with him in there. It was great.
That
But
city's list gave me nightmares.
I mean,
it's
the
it's a
reason
point. We're not alone in the Slaves to Darkness realm, and
no,
it's not
no.
that bad.
We're all suffering out here. That's all we're saying. I'm not trying to take away your suffering. We're all suffering out here. And
I
how do we move forward, Jack?
I
In
guess we
that,
gotta embrace the evil that is. I mean, to Matt's point, I mean, I've already started thinking along those lines. I mean, I have that Regiment Renown from the Skaven book, which
yeah,
is really fun because it gives Slaves to Darkness back a whole phase they just don't have.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
shooting.
So yeah, doing that and building around that is probably going to be, my version of that. So I have to embrace the new. As an
Mhm.
aside, I think you guys and listeners would really appreciate what I'm doing with this particular unit, and if I ever do any more with it, any other Skaven I ever paint. You can
Mhm.
see pictures on the Discord for sure, but I'm painting up all of them in the Arendelle colors from Frozen
Okay.
Oh,
because
there you go.
my little daughter is obsessed with Frozen, and
Oh.
she is a zodiac sign of the rat. And
Nice.
Oh.
yep, so I've called it Vermindell.
Nice.
And they all have, like kind of like the teal and the purple coloring, and it's come together
Yeah.
pretty well. Like, and even like the warpstone crystals kind of have like a blue green effect to kind of really riff off it.
Nice.
So
Damn, you
there's
found a
something
positive.
entertaining. Yeah, I found my silver lining there,
There
and
you go.
yeah,
And
there's something to look forward to.
I'm
Uh,
interested to see how the book like evolves when the points get moved around after after win rates hit through.
When all the meta chasers go after the new book thinking that's going to be the most broken, busted thing, and then they find some stupid combo, and then GW's got to nerf it.
Yeah,
and they move on to the next book.
And I'm just going to be playing my Altherodon army with a little bit of Dark Oath in there. And, it's going to be a thing that will catch a lot of people by surprise. They'll be they'll be wondering how they charged into me, and somehow all their guys are gone.
I'm wondering too.
As a man who can field 60 Dark Oath Marauders right now, before I even touch the rest of it, the 4 Wilder Fiends and all the stuff, I feel you. It's fun to kind of go the countercultural way with the army. I suppose I'm hoping that maybe with that design space they've just recaptured, they like wait a respectful couple months or whatever, and then they re-release the Tribes of the Snow Peaks army or some kind of Dark Oath variation like that, because that would be fun. That was active right at the end of the last edition, and then it was kind of sticking around, but then it didn't have a lot of play. But something like that could really be very Dark Oathy, play into the whole O Stones thing.
I mean, they pseudo have them in their war scrolls now. Like everything is an oath, right?
Yeah, but they're just like Oath Light, right? They don't have a lot of kick to them.
It's because they don't have any armor.
Yeah, but let's you think of the awesome power they were accruing. Like your Marauders, they charge in and they get like 1 rend. That's after they pour that blood in the stone. It's not, and that's going from 0 rend to 1 rend. It's like they give them what they would have had on the war scroll for like 1 more point or something.
Yeah, I think, and this is where like I won't lie, I'm just excited to put my Famir on a table anytime. So I'm probably going to take him to a couple RTTs, have some, probably put in some Dark Oath just to have fun, right? Have a little recursion. Have a little screening, and enjoy it in small games, and wait for just the points reductions to wash over the rest of the army.
I think that's the way to go, honestly, Matt. And I'm not trying to dissuade from that way of thinking. I mean, in my Slaves to Darkness journey so far this edition, outside of that one RTT, I was able to organize and play for us, a little bit. I had some fun with it. I was pushing a lot of Dark Oath around, doing the brands thing and like trying out the kooky stuff with a Wilderfiend to good effect. I mean, I think I ended up going, for all the games I've played since the new edition dropped, 9-2 with them, so not too bad. Or 7-2 maybe. So no, that was bad.
I think it was 9-2. That sounds.
It was 9-2. Yeah,
you,
like
you definitely got double digits of games in.
Yeah, I didn't get to play a lot with the new baby, but I got some games and it was fun. And I was like, doing kooky stuff, like summoning dead Wilderfiends behind people and eating their long strikes, and checking out different builds. And I think there's a lot of play for that. So I say bring the Therodons, bring the Dark Oath, because they're not bad. They're just not as good.
No.
And they'll average out. I think the most important thing is just play what you want. Like hats off to Mason, right? He goes off and plays what he wants at a competitive level, but he will go off and play what he wants each time, totally different.
Yep.
I'm not that psychotic, but the goal is to have fun, right? And
he has fun.
Yeah. And
he found his own way. That's all we want out of a hobby, is to find our own way to have fun,
Exactly.
It's true. And it starts with the letter F, both fun and Famir. And I think that's a sign right there, Matt, for you with the slaves.
I'm just saying you can now bring Bellicor and not play the normal game.
It's true. Bellicor is literally a 400 point-ish tax on your list building, where you're like, well, I could have brought Bellicor.
This guy.
Such an albatross. He's fun though.
He is.
Positivity though, guys. There's
positivity.
I just had to get that all out. All the Slaves to Darkness.
I think I think it needs to be said, right? Like, and that goes back to that point I was trying to make about like a third of a book that we're only going to see on the table. Like the more congealed things get, like we should call it out. Somebody has to call it out.
Mhm.
Like one of the things that I personally hate hearing when somebody does like book reviews or anything is like, oh, that's trash. Nobody should ever take that. Because like that cuts down the amount of ingenuity that some people could take to that book. I
Yep.
mean, and it's usually only a points drop away. Some people will say it's War Scrolls. I don't know. I'm always thinking it's just keep on dropping the points until people take them.
That is true. I mean, sometimes it's just like a little shave, and all of a sudden, something becomes ultra viable. I guess
Yep.
to that point, you know what I'll make a prediction on? It's gonna be real fun in this new, oh, excuse me, Slays Darkness meta.
What you
Might see the
got?
Legionnaires. The Legionnaires are 80 points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've been hearing rumblings of them and Bellacor's special army.
Yeah,
Legionnaires are showing up in my Therodon list already. So like,
But
the
it
ability
makes
to
me
turn off
wonder.
commands on a 4 and up, do it.
Yeah, which I love. I just wonder, are they gonna stay more the Warcry warband, or are they fully they're here for real this time? They're staying.
they're just I think a Warcry warband or whatever it is, where they just put legs on them. You know, it's like this is the
Yeah.
one we're sticking with. I guess them and the Savagers have their place in the sun right now, but yeah, they just put
Yeah.
even more of a premium on it because I think the whole army of renown has Legionnaires thematically as like kind of the main infantry thing you can take, which is not a demon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're Bellacor's dudes. I want
Yeah,
them to stay. Don't get
they're
me
very
wrong. I want them
cool.
to be a mainline unit, but
I think I need to see how Eternus shakes out because like
Mhm.
there could be an interesting theme build in there, right?
I
Yeah.
think so. I
What
have
base size is he
Eternus
on?
on my painting table. He's got to work on them. What are the basing sizes for the
I was
dark?
gonna I was gonna say
It's
is he plague toadable to move from your chaos shrine?
Eternus is a mite bit smaller, maybe.
Yeah.
Mm. He's just like Varanguard-ish, right?
I mean,
Yeah,
you
it's
could
a
always use
sword or
the
something.
shrine as a mutolith, right? Something like
Is that the
that.
same size? It just became a mutolith, I think.
Are
That's it.
Mutalists
Yeah,
still in the game?
They
mutolith,
are
mutolith are
That's
in the
staying.
game. They're
slaughter
okay.
brutes too. Everyone loves their slaughter brutes. Important
Amen.
asset.
Slaughter Brute. Okay. Okay. So Slaughter Brute, I think, is one of the most fun mid-tier unused units. And that's because if you are using a slow army,
Mm-hmm.
um, so if like you're popping into Chosen, you're popping into you know, something that's gonna move up and stay, like Warriors, anything like that. They have a 3d6 charge, just flat 3d6. So you can countercharge them right in and drop d3 plus 3 mortals on an infantry unit. Now they do have the big base, but what you can do is use them as area denial, right? Because they do
Okay.
that, they do the mortals on the charge. So come on up, hit my
I
warriors,
do.
take some mortals, bum 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 bum.
That's
Right?
fair. Good countercharge thing.
There's fun there. I like it.
I like it. I do like the Muleth Warp piece for fun too, like spitting out Zinchi mortal wounds and all that kind of shenanigans. So there's like a lot of play with that stuff. And maybe you found a silver lining for me there, Matt, that my War Shrine is just no longer in the game and kind of do whatever it needs to be.
Yeah, like that's
Yeah.
I've entered post cares with all of my doxed armies, right? Like
Mhm.
what can I proxy this as? Because now everything's a proxy, right? And
Yeah.
in one of the things that was very apparent to me,
Well.
um, is coming from Feast of Blades, we had a 40K tournament off on the other side,
Mhm.
and people were really worried. Somehow they got it in their heads that like proxies for for my tournament were like super like regulated. I had to be like da, 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 da.
For
And it's
you?
yeah, which is hilarious because I just posted, please take a picture of any proxies or anything, right? Put it in the
Yeah.
pack, right?
Yeah.
Which is hilariously the almost exact same pack because we've been kind of using the same one for all of the local area tournaments that everybody had just been in. Like I think it was about a month before at Sparkle Party.
Yeah, all the golden ticket
And
winners that showed up to 30th field. Everyone's
yeah,
worried about. Okay,
yeah.
go on.
So, anyways, they made a giant deal about it, and or they thought I was making a giant deal about it when it was really just a rules
Hey
copy and
Matt,
paste. But
Matt, you know who would have known you well enough that they would have known you would never care about a proxy? Our lovely listeners from the state of Michigan.
yeah,
It's been a while since we shouted them out. Got to bring that joke back
hey,
a little bit.
Michiganders.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so like the only thing that
Wait,
really
seriously.
matters with AOS is base size.
Yeah.
As I was talking with TO on the 40K side, they were like comparing like height and then
Mhm.
model width and everything. Doesn't really
Yeah.
matter in AOS. Find a way to take that model that you love, put it
Yeah.
in something else. It'll be fine. As long as like your opponent knows and like your TO knows, you're
Mhm.
good. Like make sure it's on the good, like on the right base size. That's all you
Yep.
really need to worry about.
That's a beautiful part of it, isn't it? You know, it's not like, oh, I can see the antenna through the
Through the
smoky
window.
ruins, and so you can't model it differently because the
You
antenna wouldn't be
accidentally
there.
towed the ruin, so I can shoot
Mhm.
your whole fucking robot now. Oh no, you backed up 5 feet. Now I'm playing this because you modeled a hunched.
If you're really
Yeah.
worried about the model footprint for shooting in AOS, then like just put an extra like marker on there, put a flag and
Yeah.
say that's where it actually is. That's where the top of this model is.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point about the flexibility in our system, which is nice for these situations.
Yeah.
But yeah, so not all bad, not all
Yeah.
bad. We got
I
some good stuff there.
We could
I
be
will
way
still
worse,
stand
fellas.
I mean, I will still stand by this is the best edition of a competitive game that I think
Mhm.
Games Workshop has ever made.
Yeah.
100% hands down. This is the best version of playing Warhammer available for competitive play. Um, I'll
Mhm.
stand by that. I mean, give me Battlefleet Gothic all day, but like,
Wow.
I'm never going to play that competitively, right?
No.
But Age of
And I
Sigmar somehow has made it happen, and like,
huh.
I think the little losses are still in the context of a great like whole, right?
Mhm.
Totally
To me
agree.
at least.
Mhm. I
Well,
get that.
I think that's a positive and uplifting note potentially for us to end on for this episode. What do you guys think? Anything more we want to delve into on the topic?
It
I
is
think
almost 1 a.m.
yeah,
I think I'm tired.
yeah, I think
I gotta go cook the rest of Thanksgiving tomorrow, fellas.
Yeah, I thought you might have that on your
Yeah.
plate.
The bitch of having worked successfully as a chef in the past. Everyone wants you to cook.
oh, and you want to cook as well because you don't want to eat anybody else's shit.
Oh no,
Mhm.
that's true. That's yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's really
The
that's
truth, the
really
truth
the
I'll
comes
underline
post
out.
that
some
I have.
pictures in the Discord too for us about shit I've already prepped because I'm going to a friend's house that she moved in. She's new to the area and she's far away from family. So Jackie and me are taking her in with some other people, and she's got a lot of different dietary restrictions. Like she's celiac. She's actually allergic to a bunch of food. So I took it as a challenge. I'm like, cool, yeah, let me just recreate a bunch of shit for you. And I did it too. Don't get me wrong. Like 99% of the stuff is done. I just need to tomorrow make a soup that I've already prepped everything for, and I need to put a dry rub on some turkey, and I'm set. But
Fucking
uh,
pre-prep.
You're ready.
This
You're
man
yeah,
ready.
has
no,
worked in a kitchen
everything.
as well.
I've worked as a caterer too. Everything's in disposable hotel pans right now that are just chilling in my refrigerator. Just I've got like
Oh, I
mashed
just had a
potato, sweet
chef-gasm.
potato. I didn't even finish sweet potato casserole yet with enough brown sugar to make you lose your right foot.
Hey,
Good time.
hey, don't stop. Eat a little bit more. You can lose the left one as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Everything's a possibility in amputee.
uh,
Well, awesome. I
yeah.
think we have indeed come to that good place.
Well, what a good episode. Good like two-phase switch hitter. And
Yeah.
listeners out there, thanks for coming to this journey with us and always try to
Thanks
play.
for still listening at this
Yeah.
point too, because we definitely had two topic turns there, and it's just dude, all that's left is the last word, huh?
I know.
I guess. Could it be turkey?